Okay, one thing I think you should all be able to do is be able to follow a chord progression in your head and be able to solo over it without it actually being there. This is a good idea for when you're in like a band or ensemble situation, because you need to understand how the chords are changing underneath what you're playing and what notes are in those chords. So when you actually play the guitar, you're going to be hitting the right notes when the chords change, etc. These notes that you generally want to lay on and hit are called target notes. They're basically the notes that the chord is made out of. For example, if the chord you're trying to hit is a D chord, you'd want to hit either a D, an A, or an F sharp note, probably because it'll be in tune with the chord. There are passing notes you can use, which might make you might do a run that just completely ignores that chord and you end on a note in another chord that is in the progression. But when you want to land on notes, you should really know what notes are in the backing that you're playing over. It's a very, very good idea. One good way to get the hang of this really is to be able to think of the chord progression in your head, to mentally be able to know it without it actually even being there. So the chord progression I'm going to use for this example is kind of like a sort of country sort of progression. It's just got three chords, E, D and A, and E, D and A, and it goes something like this, so check it out. It's just something really simple for you to be able to get the hang of. Okay, so I'm going to start off by playing the chord sequence a couple of times, and then start soloing it over it without the chords being there. But I'm going to make it really obvious when the chords change by what notes I choose. The way I can do this is by using arpeggios of the chords that I'm changing, the D and the A, for example. So I'm going to start off by playing the chord sequence twice, and then I'm going to start soloing, and you should be able to hear the chords change with what I'm doing, because I'm thinking of the chords in my head and what notes are in those chords. Okay, here goes. You might wonder what's going through my mind as I'm changing between all the chords as I'm playing over them. Well, basically every time a chord's coming up, I'm thinking what is that chord and what notes are in that chord. So when the E comes up, I know that there's an E, a B and a G sharp, and I would play something around something in an E arpeggio or something like that. But when the D and the A comes up, I know that the D is going to come up, so I've got the option of an A, a D or an F sharp, comes up, an A, a C sharp, and an E note. So it's about knowing what the notes are in the chords in the sequence, and when they're going to come. One good thing to do, rather than just playing the E major scale, or in this case it's E mixolydian, is to play around the chords and to play the notes that are in the chords rather than just the scale. If you stick to just the scale, you just sound like every other guitarist. Whereas if you change what notes you're playing as the chords change, it gives you much more options and much more notes to play around with, rather than if you strictly stick to the E mixolydian mode, which is what this is in, E, D and A. Also, another good thing to note is not to play sort of fast all the time or cram lots of notes in. One good thing to do is to hang on a note, and when, like, I know the D note, the D chord's coming up on an E, I might hang on a B and think, oh, the D's coming up, so I should change to an A. So sustaining notes is a good idea, because it means you can think of what chord's coming next, what note you need to go to, whether it's to go to an A in a D chord or a C sharp in the A chord or whatever. So it's to think and to have control of what you're doing, rather than just sort of playing any notes, to know the notes that are within your limitations and what would suit the chords and the backing. Just playing a load of stuff on your own, like, it's good to practice just on your own, but you need to play along to a backing track or something a lot of the time to make it relevant to what you're doing. If you're just going to be playing a load of notes that are not relevant to the backing, then it's just going to sound bad. So it's good to play within the context of the song and the style. This is more like a sort of country sort of type thing, or laid back sort of rock sort of exercise. So it's not good to play loads and loads of really fast stuff. Just sort of play within what would suit the style.